Hi, this is another video about ocular malingering, and I'm going to be looking at what happens when people are actually malingering. So that's people who are trying to be deceitful, deliberately claiming their condition is worse than it is, or claiming they have a condition they don't have. So, you know, they might be saying they're blind in one or both eyes, or they can't see as well as they can. And I'm going to be looking at some of the techniques that the ophthalmologist or the examiner will use to determine whether they can actually see or not. And I'm going to be giving my take on it as well, because I thought it looked interesting. I thought, oh, if I had that test at a certain time, then I would have done such and such. So it's just a little look at it from another angle. No pun intended. So the very first thing is that the examiner will reach out and shake their hand, or put their hand out for a handshake, and you know, when they're greeting them. So it's instinct if someone puts their hand out to shake their hand. And if you're claiming you're blind, you're not going to see someone putting their hand out. So if you shake the examiner's hand, then you're proving you're not blind, for starters. Now, kind of the interesting thing here is I did have a period where my eyes kind of locked in a sort of cross-eyed thing because I was over-focused. And you couldn't actually see it just by looking at my eyes. It looked sort of fairly normal, but I would come to look at something over-focus and then I'd see two of everything, and it was just very strange and disconcerting when it happened. And I think if someone had put their hand out, there'd have been two hands. Okay, is it this hand? Is it this hand? Yeah, but I mean, it's not whether I think these are good or bad tests, because on the whole I think they are pretty good tests, but it's just how I might have reacted to some of them, and maybe yeah. So on to the next one, the finger flick, and again, that's just to test if someone has a, you know, blink reflex, because if you do that, someone will not want something. It's automatic to blink if something comes close to your face. So that will show that you have some vision, at least. And I guess with that one, if someone, I mean, you'd be doing it to test the reflexes as well. So it wouldn't just be someone claiming they're blind. I do have a slight reservation with that one, because I'm not particularly keen on anything coming close to my face, and it's because of the over-focus thing. I can also imagine that someone on the autistic spectrum wouldn't be too keen on it either. But having said that, it is a test. I think it's a reasonable test, and it will certainly, you know, if someone's claiming they're blind and they blink when you do that, then, you know, it's quite obviously they're faking. Another one is to see if the eyes will track, and I've got Teddy here, and Teddy's looking in the mirror, and you move the mirror around back and forth, and if your face is looking in it, it's impossible not to track the movements back and forth, looking back at your own face. I mean, personally, I wouldn't like that test. I would actually find it quite uncomfortable having to follow something at that distance, and it's not something I'd be able to just fuzz out and not do. But having said that, it does check whether the person can follow an object if they're saying that they can't. The next one, can you put your fingers together? And, you know, if a person's doing or that sort of thing, it might be I'm going to be a bit reserved about this and say, well, it might be a clue that they're faking it. It depends, you know, what they've said. If they said they're, you know, they're blind, then they would be faking it, because we can all do it. Look, I'm doing it with my eyes shut, and the same as we can all do it. Now, when I was having my bad eye strain, if someone had asked me to do that, I would have been like, where are my fingers? I'd have been able to do it with my eyes shut, no problem. But because my eyes had like over focused, I mean, I was doing things like this. If I was squeezing toothpaste, I'd be so if I had the toothpaste here, it would look like it was there. So it would have to look like it was about there, say, so that I could, if it looked like it was about there, then it would actually be about there. And like I say, it wasn't visible I was that cross-eyed just by looking at my eyes. But I'd kind of gone into a sort of spasm at that point. And I mean, one day I was walking up the road and my eyes just, because I was used to over-focusing, when my eyes went back to normal, because they were kind of going in and out like that a lot, so it wasn't something I could control very well, and they kind of went back to normal, and suddenly it was weird because there was just two of everything, because my brain hadn't caught up with the fact that my eyes had just moved. So that was really very weird. Okay, the next thing is stairs. Now sometimes people have a flight of stairs that the person has to get up and down, and they'll observe them, you know, coming up to their office to see how they manage the stairs. And especially going down as well. So if the person goes up and down like kind of clinging onto the handrail and not managing the stairs very well, that is actually a clue that the person might be faking or exaggerating their symptoms, because as a rule you get to the first step and if you can't see very well, you get to the first step, you're quite cautious about that one step. But one step is very much like another step. So you, I'm just going to write something down. So you go up or down the rest of the steps quite normally. Now, having said that, just to throw a spanner in the works, I have dyspraxia, and for anyone with dyspraxia, and I think some people with Asperger's as well, stairs are a bit of a bête noire, and escalators, especially escalators going down. And now these kind of fog things out a lot of the time. And before I had them, when I was overseeing everything in like very colourful stereo vision. And yeah, I used to go up and down stairs like that. I'd just kind of try and bury my face in the wall to not have to look at anything, and kind of drag myself up the handrail. And going downstairs was even worse, because you literally can't do that. So I don't remember how I got downstairs, and especially escalators, trying to get down from that first step and judge it. That was just completely horrible. Now I'm okay, funnily enough, because these actually fog things out a lot of the time. So I'm not seeing all the clutter. I can see, and you know, I am quite cautious about the first step. Once I've got that, I'm okay. I know they're all the same. And even escalators are a lot easier, because I'm just not having so much coming at me. And in fact, I went to work recently, and the first thing I do is I got to go up the stairs, and my vision had just my eyes had just relaxed, so I could actually see very clearly through these, and I could see the stairs. I could see them way too well, and they were just too disturbing. I know that just sounds so weird, but I just thought, oh God, no, I can't get up those, and I took the lift instead. So yeah, that is my little reaction to it. Nonetheless, as I say, I think that is a good test. And the final one I've got here is, can you sign your name? Yeah, and again, that's like touching your nose, touching your fingers. You should be able to do it with your eyes shut. And I have had times when I've had to do that, because if I've been, you know, exercising or something, and I think this is a dyspraxia thing, like the pen's not in my control, you know, I can't quite coordinate everything properly, but if I shut my eyes, I can do it no problem. So yeah, that was, so yeah, to sum up, I think these are all actually very good tests. They're all very simple tests to spot, very basically, if you think someone's being deceitful in an eye examination. I think, you know, on an odd occasion, someone might have difficulty doing something, and there might be something a bit more behind it, so you might kind of ask you know, a few more questions like, oh, I see you didn't get up the steps very well, and then someone can explain. Although if someone is faking it, you you don't want them explaining because it gives them an out. So I guess there's that, but yeah, so that was my take on it. Hope you found that useful, and tune in for the next video.